Alrighty, we can go ahead and get started. Sorry, I'm just making this a little smaller. My name is Haura. Well, first of all, congratulations. Welcome to the University of Michigan School of Social Work. We are so excited to have you, and we cannot wait for you all to start the program. Um, like I was saying, my name is Haura. I am in my third semester of the program. I'm in the interpersonal practice pathway. That's the one that has like the really, really long name. In the 16-month program. And I can kind of talk some more about my experience and my field placements and student orgs and different things like that in just a little bit. Sadly, I'm the only one facilitating today. So Dominic, who you all may have seen in other meetings, is not here today. So I want you all to know, just kind of like from the start, if there's anything that you have a question about at all throughout this entire thing, please feel free to go ahead and just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask the question. Or you can do like the hand raise thing on Zoom as well. And you can also type it in the chat. I'll try to keep my eyes on all of those. But please speak out if I overlook or miss your question, just because I don't want to keep you waiting. And yeah. So our little agenda for this webinar is we'll talk kind of about what life is like in the program, life in Ann Arbor, things that you are able to do in the area, and some community culture, and then also activities and events over here as well. Um, so at the School of Social Work, it is honestly such a it's so inclusive, such a welcoming culture. Um, that was something that I was looking for as a student, when I was getting ready to start a program, and I was very thankful to see it here. That everybody is honestly so friendly, very collaborative. And I feel like in classes and outside of classes and everywhere and with the administrators and everything, it's just, it's just like, I don't know, I feel like the whole thing is very collaborative. And I feel like students, we're treated as colleagues. We're not treated, with like the power imbalances that can often come with student and professor relationships. So it's a really nice environment all around, and I'm so excited for you all to be able to experience that. Um, so at the School of Social Work, we have, I would say maybe like 20 different clubs now, or different organizations. So these are kind of like the prime way for community building at the School of Social Work. And you're able to kind of connect with people and with your peers who have similar or different interests and a bunch of different things like that. So, we have some affinity-based groups. We have a club like such as the psychedelic assisted therapy, a bunch of other organizations that are kind of focused on professional development and professional growth. And then also we also have usually it's like at the very beginning of our semester, so once you all start, we kind of have our own little mini org fair where kind of throughout the School of Social Work, there's a bunch of organizations just kind of set up in their tabling, just so that new students are able to kind of see and learn about all of the different options for orgs at the School of Social Work. And also we have on our School of Social Work website, there's also kind of an area that talks about all of the different organizations under student life. So that's another way that you're able to kind of see the immediate list of the current active organizations with their contact information. There's a lot of them. I will say that I forgot to say that I'm doing these, these little webinars because I work in the Office of Student Services, who you all have been connected with, as admitted students. But I'm also our president of student government. So student government is a large and active group that we basically like connect the gap between all of the students at the school and our administrators, because there's often kind of a little bit of space between that's sometimes just creates a little bit of a funky vibe. So we're kind of able to help uplift student concerns. Um, One thing that we are currently working on, which is might sound kind of funny, but we're gonna have a little like social work prom. But we're not calling it that. We're gonna call it like a cute little like social work formal. We do a lot of outreach with students. We, are kind of one of our main goals is to just overall advocate for student needs. Um, and a bunch of things like that. So we do a lot of also like merch sales, um, and yeah, just working with students to really just uplift their voices. Um, the way that student government works at the school of social work is it is kind of like the typical student government with elections and nominations and the whole shebang. And it's also worth noting that if you are interested in this, you do get a stipend for each semester that you are serving as an officer, which is super cool. And sorry, perfect. And I was opening the chat. Yeah. So also we are once you all start this fall, if you're starting this fall, there will be a lot of us graduating in the fall. So if you're interested, feel free to connect with me or connect with anybody on the school social work website that you see under student government. And we are more than happy to connect with you and kind of, share information, different things like that. Um, any questions on what we've talked about so far? I know I'm like a little bit all over the place. Sorry, today's been a long day. So please stop me and just let me know if anything is a little like funky. Um, yeah, so just let me know, please, because I know this could probably be a lot of information. But also the recording and also slides and other information will be emailed over as well. And I'm always here to respond to questions and emails or find somebody who answers them better than me. So yeah, so now we'll kind of jump into the Ann Arbor side of things. Um, Ann Arbor is a super fun city because it's like a big city but a small city all at the same time. There is a bunch of food. There are, always a bunch of different things going on. There's lots of art fairs. Um, they have a very large and fun Pride Festival. Um, there's just overall kind of a large and vibrant art scene, performances and plays by students and members of the community. And then as students, there are some museums that we actually get free access to, which is super cool. I think it's the Natural History Museum and Contemporary Art. I might be wrong. Don't take my word for it, but I'm pretty sure that, you can just kind of show your little U of M ID and you can go to the cool museums for free, which is awesome. And yeah, there's so much in Ann Arbor pretty much all the time, and you can just walk around anywhere, get delicious food and coffee and quite literally everything. Um, Look at that. I just predicted that food would be the next slide. My coworker just made these slides, so I'm kind of as I'm going, I'm like, oh, okay, this is fun. So it looks like he listed off the best food. Um, he's a foodie, so I would take note on these recommendations if you are also a foodie yourself. Um, I know that off of this list, specifically Slurping Turtle is apparently very good sushi and ramen. If you're interested in that. But yeah, overall, there's just so many different restaurants. And it's very fun. And I see a question in the chat. What is downtown like on an average day? Downtown Ann Arbor is, I feel like I have never seen it empty. I've never seen like it very dull there. Like even right now when, summer, a lot of students don't have school. I feel like it's like a busy city, but it's like not overwhelmingly busy, if that makes sense. Um, so it's like there's a lot of people and like there's lots of shopping and foods. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's like over overly busy. Again, I don't know if that makes sense. So please let me know if that doesn't answer right. Um, so next we'll talk kind of like about the events that are either in Ann Arbor or at the School of Social Work, which there are a lot of them at the School of Social Work. So there are a lot of community building and outreach events that we try to have, especially as students are just kind of starting the program, so that you can kind of build a community early on and then grow with your community, because it can be kind of an isolating experience if you, you know, aren't surrounded by a bunch of people. So some students that I know actually just did this very top event, which is an art exhibition, which was basically all a bunch of MSW students um basically presented their art projects, and it was really beautiful. We've had some pretty well-known psychotherapists come in and talk about kind of anti-racist frameworks for African American focused psychotherapy. Lots of presentations on psychedelics and therapy. It was a lot of like issues facing contemporary society, abolitionist movements, um, social work appreciation week, pretty much everything. Like anything that you can name, we've probably had an event for. And we're always open to bringing in speakers, and yeah, I feel like there's just always something happening at the School of Social Work. And thankfully, once you are all, I don't know if you all are added into our like official like email in terms of students sending out like big listserv emails to people, but once you are, the student government always sends out newsletters that kind of have and include a lot of the events that are happening on campus in the School of Social Work. So that is a great way to find some resources. Um, so this is not necessarily as related to student life, but I will say that it takes up a lot of your life. So it's probably necessary to just touch on really quickly. Um, so field education is kind of like the prime time to be able to apply all of the things that you're learning. So your very first semester field will usually, if you're a 16 or 20-month student, be about 2 days a week, about 16 hours ish. And the second semester and third semester of field, you kind of bump up in hours up to like 24 hours ish, and that's about 3 days a week. So you are going to be spending a lot of time at your field placement, and you are going to develop, your own professional network of people that you can surround yourself by, working with your clients or with your whatever it is, whatever type of social work that you choose to do. Um, I will say that I mean, I've had my own kind of funky experience with field education. I've changed placements, which isn't necessarily the most common thing to do. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're not in a position that suits you and your educational needs, then the field office helps advocate for that, and they helped me find new placements that suit me better. So I would say just don't feel like you're stuck. And if you ever feel like you are stuck, the field education office, they're very helpful, and they won't have you jeopardize your education just to stay at a placement. Um yes, that's a quick summary on field. And I would say like the hardest part of being a student, I guess, is kind of balancing things. I thankfully have noticed that a lot of our professors, um, because a lot of them are social workers, understand that this is a lot. And just like being a human through all of this as well is a lot. Um, so I feel like that is kind of a benefit of the program in and of itself as well, because they kind of assist us in balancing things. Um, and I will say none of my friends or fellow students and I balance our lives in the same way. So there, like the bullet says, there's no right or wrong way to balance your life. It's all about your own personal preferences and your own needs, and it's unique to each person. Um, I the second bullet talks about kind of when you have a job at the School of Social Work, or as a work study student, there's usually a limit of hours. So I work as a work study student, and they cap out my hours at about 8 to 10 hours a week. Because they're like, we know that you're very busy right now and you literally can't do more than that. And granted, I'm not doing the 8 to 10 right now, um, because I don't have my personal capacity for that. But I would recommend that if you are looking for any type of part-time job, to look at something within the school of social work, due to just like the flexibility associated, um, which is very nice. And yeah, overall, like I feel like if you're able to just communicate your needs or your frustrations or your quite literally anything, the faculty, like, they will understand, or if they don't understand, then they'll find a way to understand, because they know that everyone's lives are different and we all have different, backgrounds and things like that. So, um, yeah. That's something I've noticed is like even when life gets so overwhelming, it's like your professors will give you the extension, or they will like things like that. They get it. Um, cool. So I'm gonna go back to this slide, and I'm not gonna leave it on this slide because I don't want you all to think that we're like done. I'd like to open up to like if you have any questions. Again, I know that that was a lot, and I maybe wasn't the most clear because I was kind of all over the place a bit. Um, so I guess any questions about my own personal experiences, um, anything at all? Oh, I see a question in the chat. What's the volunteer community like, or is that mostly the outreach? I would say that sometimes we get emails sent out from the Office of Student Services or the Office of DEI, and they can kind of sometimes push out different opportunities that are more community based. Um, but and like also some specific pathways. I know like the community change pathway did like a special program pathway did some volunteering. But other than that, it's off the top of my head, I can't think of any. That's actually something that some of the student government members and I were actually talking about, just to increase some, volunteering and things like that on our campus or in our school. But that's a great question. And hopefully by the time that you start, we'll have some nice things set up. So student government applications. So because if you are starting in fall of 2024, you actually cannot run prior to that. So let's say you start in fall, usually we would do our elections for the following semester. We would usually do them in probably like November-ish. But we would of course send out lots of emails and make sure that all of you are aware of that. So like in November elections would happen. We would kind of transition the new officers in. Then that following January, the new officers would take over. The reason being that we can't have you all start in the summer, or like, how do I word it? We are going to have elections this summer semester, but we actually can't have you start as an officer the second you are starting the program, just because that'd be way too overwhelming. And also, we have to have you get a little bit adjusted to the school of social work before jumping into student government, just because it does take up some time. Good question also though. And again, yes, we will be sending that out to all of you. Any other questions? I'm trying to think. Yeah, I feel like there's always something going on our campus, and it's always pretty fun. I will also say during the summer it's not as busy, but that's not a bad thing. It's just like it's a little bit more calm in the school of social work because not all of our students are taking classes at the same time. Everybody's in field. So I'm very excited for the fall for us to have a very busy and just fun vibes in the School of Social Work. Let's see. Good question. Do you know any students who are pursuing dual pathways? Um, yeah, so I would say that I do know a fair amount of students who have, a primary pathway and a secondary pathway. Um, I will say I think that some of them didn't necessarily love that. Um, but again, this is just me. I mean, I don't have two pathways, but I will say like the only thing that comes along with that is it really reduces the amount of electives that you have. Um, because that secondary pathway will take up a fair chunk of them that you wouldn't really be able to kind of dabble in the other areas that you might be interested in. But if you are like set on like this is the exact thing I want to do, then I think it's cool. But I also think also like if you were to do, child welfare and have your secondary in community change, as child welfare on its own, like some of the fundamental courses, you will have a community change class, like your very first semester. Your very first semester for most 16 or 21 students will have kind of like a class from almost each pathway, if that makes sense. Um, I don't know if they've shared like the course catalog or like the course planners with you all to kind of be able to see what the course outlines might look like. But I personally am like thankful that I was able to kind of have the flexibility with all of the different electives. Because I'm taking some fun classes this semester that I don't think I would have been able to take maybe if I did a secondary. But I also don't want to sway you of not doing a secondary. I'm just like very much like I like the flexibility of taking a bunch of different classes. This semester I'm taking animal assisted therapy, which I'm very excited for. We have a professor who kind of owns her own farm slash also psychotherapy place, and that's really cool. And I'm not a political social worker, but I'm also taking a 1 credit mini political social work class, which is going to be interesting. And yeah, a bunch of other stuff. I'll spare the details, but yeah, so that's a great question though, and I'm sorry if I didn't answer it too great. Um, but yes. Any other questions? Also, if you can't think of any questions right now, that's so fair. And you can email me questions after, because I'll probably send this stuff all over to you um in the next like week. Um, Alrighty. Well, it looks like we may not have all that many questions left. So are if you want to hop off, you're more than welcome to. And thank you so much for coming. If not, you can stick around and I'll be here to answer any more questions, or if you have any questions about my own experience or classes or field or anything like that, you're more than welcome to ask. But yeah, of course. Yeah, so you guys are more than able to make a group me. My cohort of students also made a group me. And it now has like I don't even know how many people in it, like maybe like 300 something. So yes, you can definitely do that. Um, and share it with everybody. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you for joining.